Thomas Alva Edison, born in 1847, is arguably the most famous inventor of all time. To him, we owe thanks for the electric light, the motion picture camera, and indeed this cassette, as he also invented the first sound recordings. But Edison invented more than these, his big three. In his lifetime, he obtained over 1,000 patents. For this appreciation of Edison, Katrin Rees turned first of all to the great man himself, recorded on his own invention.
When I look around at the resources of the electrical field today, I feel that I would be glad to begin again my work as an electrician, an inventor, and we veterans...
The voice of Thomas Edison, recorded in 1908. Beside his big three creations, he's also credited with the well-known cliché that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. Not that Edison was short of inspiration, according to his biographer Neil Baldwin.
The lesson for us with Edison is that creativity and imagination can belong to the scientists as well as to the artists and the writers and the poets and the painters. He was unable to stop himself from thinking. And in the course of his 65 years of inventing, he filled up more than 3,000 laboratory notebooks with his thoughts.
At the time, Edison's way of working was unique. His factory at Menlo Park in the United States had the first research and development laboratory in the world. Edison was also quite happy to improve on other people's work. The electric light bulb, the invention attributed most often to Edison, was not originally his own idea, but certainly one he knew he could improve upon. Brian Bowers of London's Science Museum tells the story.
He had really got himself established as an inventor in electrical and electrically related fields. The story is, and I have no reason to doubt it, that he saw demonstrations of electric lighting and thought, this is a thing which I could get into and I could do better. So he turned his whole laboratory, his team of inventors, over to the various problems associated with the electric light.
A good example of how Edison followed an idea through from its conception to fruition is the phonograph. Whilst Edison was working on improving a way of sending telegraph messages, he thought of a way to record sounds and chose to explore the idea further. Peter Copeland of the British National Sound Archive takes up the story.
Basically, he just drew an extremely primitive sketch of it in a laboratory notebook, gave it to his laboratory mechanic and said, "Crucy, build that." And Crucy did. And Edison wrapped some tinfoil round the mandrel, put the mouthpiece up against the tinfoil, turned the handle, shouted the first thing that came into his head, which was, "Mary had a little lamb," and wound the handle back, and out came,
Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to grow.
Edison then broke off his work on the phonograph to work on the light bulb, and returned to it 10 years later. Peter Copeland again.
As the electric light was perfected, he then went back to what he called his favourite invention, the phonograph, and invented the improved phonograph. And this, instead of using tinfoil, used cylinders made of wax, and I've got one of them here. It's a material rather like soap in its general consistency, but you know what happens to soap if you leave it on the wash basin for a long period of time. It dries out, it goes mouldy, and that's what's happened to this one, I'm afraid.
And this is how it sounds. The wax cylinders were soon superseded by gramophone records. Not necessarily because cylinders were technically inferior, but because Edison didn't believe that they should be used to record music for entertainment. He didn't believe that was what the people of America wanted. Like the wax cylinders, many of Edison's inventions failed commercially, some because of technical problems, but others only as a result of Edison's own failure of judgment. He didn't foresee the success of radio, because he couldn't imagine that people would want a form of entertainment coming into their homes that they couldn't control. But he was rightly proud of his work, and as we heard at the beginning, hoped only that his successors would achieve as much in the next 50 years as he had done in the last half-century.
I feel that I would be glad to begin again my work as an electrician, an inventor, and we veterans can only urge upon our successors to realize the measure of their opportunities and to rise to the height of their responsibilities in this day of electricity.
Thomas Edison ending that report on Thomas Edison. Finally today, the